Hi, my name is Nathan Parker, and I will be talking to you all about crunch culture. You've just been hired at a new job, and you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready for the future. You sit down at your desk, set up your station, and you get ready to work. Soon after, your new boss comes in and tells you and your team that for the next few months you'll be staying overtime, sitting at your desk, sleeping there, eating, and basically just living there for the next few months until the project is done. So you sit down and you get to work because if you don't, you're out of the job. That's crunch culture. This physically and mentally harmful cultural phenomenon that has taken root in primarily educational places and in artistic communities and artistic developments. Um, as a person entering the workplace, I just wanted to sort of talk about the state of it, especially in these artistic communities and these artistic businesses. Crunch culture is in every type of workplace and learning place. Even if you're not experiencing it, you might still be playing a role in this culture of crunch. So, together, we'll be going over what exactly crunch culture is and how that compares to just regular old crunch time. We'll be going over how it's harming people in the workplace today and how consumers are influencing the problem of crunch culture. Before we get any of that, let's get right into those definitions. So, crunch and crunch culture are very different things. Crunch is the act of pushing yourself to meet a deadline, and it's often caused by procrastination or just wanting to put extra hours into this project. And that's normally for a brief period of time, so like a night, a couple nights, as you like try and get that assignment in real late, or the project done real late. Whereas crunch culture, that is the culture of long extended periods of this crunch. So months on end, people just working, staying late, getting it in, because if they don't, they will get fired. Or they really want to put themselves into this. And this is the definition used by pretty much every news outlet out there. One example being The Reporter, Tommy Delp. I use this as the definition. And now that we have the basis for the topic, let's get on to it in detail. People who experience the different effects of crunch culture often sacrifice many things to meet these demands and deadlines that are impossible with regular work hours. These crunches require insane hours, and in some cases have been considered abusive or exploitative because they prey upon new members of the industry wanting to put themselves into it, only to be completely burned out. And they can put in over 70 hours a week whenever it comes down to these deadlines because of how much they really demand. And that was said by a couple different magazines as well and different news outlets. And the people in charge aren't the only ones responsible for this issue. Another real important thing to talk about in this is how much consumers really play into this dangerous culture. While the developers and the producers and the executives, they put in the deadline, the consumers are just as guilty because we are the ones who put so much pressure and emotion into these projects because we really love what they do and what they give us, but we aren't really there for the rest of the process. So, for example, there have been many cases where where a deadline doesn't meet its expected margin, and the fans of this group, of this video game, of this movie, of this TV show, whenever it gets pushed back, they will go online and they will rant and rave about how upset it makes them and how they hate the developers and like why aren't they putting in these why aren't they crunching? Why aren't they crunching enough to make this thing finished? so that we can enjoy it. And that can be just as toxic and dangerous to these to this culture, because it's just another stimulus that keeps people wanting to go right back into it. And a lot of developers, it just further justifies the want to keep going, and all this comes together in this very unhealthy lifestyle that is technically legal, and it's supported by people like us who want these things to come out faster and sooner. And yes, so crunch culture, in summary, crunch culture is the lifestyle that's pushing oneself to meet a deadline for a long period of time, to the point where you're sacrificing personal lives, personal relationships, hygiene, health, all that other stuff. And it's fully supported by the consumers and the producers. Crunch culture is physically and mentally harmful to all those involved. And as said by Martin O'Donnell, a game producer who has both experienced and had to deal with crunch culture in the workplace, he says people don't want to kill the goose to get the golden eggs, in reference to the story about the goose that laid golden eggs. People don't want to kill the goose, but they don't seem to mind kicking it in the stomach. And a goose that's been kicked in the stomach doesn't really want to lay any more golden eggs. Thank you for listening. This has been my speech on crunch culture, and if there are any questions, please feel free. Thank you.